Everyone, welcome to another Founder Wisdom podcast, robotics/AI edition. Today with us, we have Kian Flora Ulriksen. He is there with Freja, which I initially pronounced Freja. Kian, can you quickly introduce yourself, and then I'll have an early first question for you.
Well, thank you very much, and thanks for having me on your podcast, first of all.
Pleasure.
My name is Kian Flora Workson. I'm the co-founder of Yodaway in Denmark, and we deal mainly in social service robots like Freja here, and also we do artificial intelligence. And the way we use it is we have our own cameras which run our own software where it recognizes individual people. So it's a fancy way of saying we count people. So how many unique visitors would you have in a physical location any given day?
Nice.
Just like you would count people on your website, right?
Yeah.
And then we look at whether or not it's a man or a woman and what kind of age group they're in.
Okay, that's important statistics or metrics to have in marketing. The first question I have is, why do I always feel the need to call robots by their name and give them an identity? Is it because of the recent like wokeism and like she them they or whatever, like, or is it me being scared to be eaten alive by AI if I don't call it by its name?
Well, that's quite an opening question.
Yep.
I'm not an expert on human behavior. However, I can speak to the experience we have with the robots in social settings, and that experience is quite extensive. That's also the foundation of which we make decisions on how to go forward with the programming. So you're asking about the need to call the robot a name. That is not unique to our product. We do capitalize on it a lot better than most other products. However, if you consider that people also name their vacuum cleaners or their what's it called, the lawnmower robots that they use in their garden, I guess there is a basic human need to have a relationship with things that seem sort of alive in your life. And we have found a way to translate that into money. That's where it becomes interesting. So to answer your question, why you feel the need, I don't think it has to do with any cultural phenomenon currently. Much more, it seems evident that it has to do with basic human needs. So in other words, it's not new. The answer is no. It's not because of wokeism. It's something within us, I guess. That's why Freya has a name to begin with. Not because we thought it was funny. Her name was, I think, 42, but that was not sufficient when we were introducing her. People kept asking, so is it a boy or is it a girl?
Yeah.
Does she have a name? Does it have a name? And when we said, yeah, it's 42, and no, it doesn't have a gender, there was a certain disappointment. Yeah. However, when you introduce her as Freya, as a full-blown colleague, the interest and the excitement goes up. And yeah, when you have a product you would like to sell, excitement and interest going up is always a positive.
Yeah, 100%. I think it started with Star Wars also. And yeah, these Hollywood people giving names to things. And then like recently, I think in popular culture, it's been Hey Google or yeah, Alexa that I have behind me might trigger her, or Siri. Yeah, and my watch just popped, you know, like I have all these robots surrounding me. It's kind of scary. Yeah, I think that kind of helps for sure. And I'm curious, Kian, because you've been at EY, you've been head of sales at multiple places. You've done various things in your career. Why did you decided to start a robotics/AI company in 2018?
Well, I was working with a robot which was made for the healthcare industry. And that robot was a very functional robot, kind of industrial looking. It was designed to take your pants off. So if you were unable to go to the bathroom on your own, you would step into this machine and it would take your pants off and then sit you down on the toilet to do your business.
Really?
Once you were done, it would raise you back up and give you your pants back on.
Hmm.
And I demonstrated this, and a newspaper took some pictures, which was great, except that I didn't have any, I didn't have my pants on. But you know, the company's man, you've got to sell your product. That company went up for sale, and then because of our impressive sales, I got some offers from different business people in my area. One of them was from Mess, who is the other co-founder. Mess had an idea that I could take this robot. This will not take your pants off. That's an entirely different product. However, it was introduced in the other company and it sold quite well. So we decided to start an AI company because there seems to be a natural step for physical locations to have data, just as you're used to having it on your online locations. I mean, look at yourself. The amount of listeners you have or views on your YouTube is hugely important metrics in order to measure whether something has been a success or not. This is missing from most physical locations. So we decided to provide it in a very precise manner. There are other great companies that do sort of the same thing. However, they don't do it with AI-based facial recognition, which is what we do. So we decided to do it because we thought the potential was huge and we could bring some real value to the marketplace.
Interesting. Do you have, or do Europeans have concerns with the facial recognition and the GDPR thing? I think Europeans are quite conscious of that, or quite scared about like their data and their privacy. Do you often get that lashback?
Well, it's always a factor. I mean, when you build a system that collects data based on how people's faces are structured, you have to build the entire software architecture around the GDPR law. There's no way around it. You cannot have a business in Europe without being, we call it GDPR compliant. You have to be in compliance with the law. And that's both when you collect the data, when you analyze the data, and when you store the data and make it available for your customers.
Okay.
And we don't sell pictures or videos because everyone has surveillance. They have that already. What we sell is statistics.
Okay. Interesting. Because if I enter a mall and I have this bot, I think watching me, I think some people may find it creepy. Most people don't know that like they're always watched almost 24/7 in most parts of the world. But you know, like with all these recent Netflix movies of these creepy bots, or I'm not sure if you watched a Black Mirror episode, or was it Love, Death, Robots, that you know there's this killer bot or you know these creepy bots. Like, do you get that reaction sometimes from consumers, or most of them are fascinated and they're like, oh, this is like such a cute thing or an innovative thing?
Well, let me put it to you this way. First of all, being watched, mm, it's not really what we do. Again, it's just statistics, and I just want to make it plain for the listeners that the robot is not the one counting people. That's a completely separate product, and
Hmm.
that's a camera that we set up, and
Okay.
it's usually hidden because it's more of a computer. It's just a technically it's an optical sensor. That's a fancy way of saying camera, but it only does statistics. It doesn't look at you. It doesn't care about you. It cares about us because we are in the same age group and
Got
we're
it.
also the same gender, I assume. So it cares about the statistics. The robots, whether or not people have sort of a fear, they absolutely do. Yes. The first robot I bought to sell in Europe was from South Korea. I went down there and brokered a deal with the South Korean embassy to get these robots, which they have developed in a national program. Fantastic trip, fantastic people. However, the robot was 160 centimeters tall. That's about 5'8", 5'9", I think. And it could drive with 6 kilometers an hour which is in miles. I'm not sure if that's about 2 miles an hour or 3
Well,
miles
it's
an
like
hour.
walking pace, you know, fast
It,
walk. Yeah, fast walk.
right. And then it had 2 arms, so it could reach out to give you sort of a bear hug.
Oh
And the
my
idea
God.
was that this robot, which was as tall as a small human and could go, as fast as a walking human and give you a bear hug, we put a tablet on top of it to structure sort of face. And the face we chose was the face of a small girl in order to make this robot approachable. So we took it into to a mall without any prior consent, of course, and we thought to ourselves, "This is great. We are fantastic robot people. How come nobody has done this before us?" We take in the robot and we just give it the beans, full power down the straight, and it goes with its arms like in and out, like it wants to hug you, and it says hello, 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 full speed, and people are running for their lives. Everyone is so scared of this robot, and nobody wants to use it. And it was hugely expensive and very difficult for us to accept that we've just made a huge mistake.
Wow.
That
Couldn't
robot,
you just like program it to be less hyperactive?
yes, we could, but then we ran into some other trouble. First of all, the size. If it approached you, you would be scared because it would be the first time in your life you were ever approached by an unsupervised robot. That's how it is for most people. So there's a huge learning curve, and people have to adapt to this new platform. Second, they didn't want to use it because they have to press the tablet, which is also the face. So because it was a face first, then they if you and I meet in real life someday, I will not press your face. That's not how we communicate. So it's unnatural. So if the robot is not built in a certain way, it lowers the rate of interaction. Fewer people will use it, and that means fewer sales, fewer product presentations, less reception tasks completed. That's why Freja here is about a meter tall, so that's about 3 point something feet. And she has a screen in her chest and then a separate face for expressions.
It's interesting. How do you select the right bot except for their physical features? Like, are some of them more modifiable than the others? Like, what platform do you code them on?
It depends on their use. And then the way we define it is based on experience. So I have each month maybe 5 different producers of robots who pitch me their products because they want me to sell it in the Nordic countries. And I say no to at least 99%. And that's a mix of how the robot looks and also the technical capabilities. A robot is there to solve a problem, not to create another task for you to complete. So it has to be really easy to use. And in order to provide any sort of value, it has to inspire people to use it without you telling them. So you walk into a building and now you have to use this receptionist on your own. So we select it based on what we think will work, and then we buy one and we test it. And then, of course, we have meetings with the producers of these robots to attain whether or not the technical capabilities are, good enough for the robot to solve the actual tasks. So Freja here, as you can probably see, she has 4 apps here on the chest. If you go into the menu, now it's 8, and you can slide across. That's just basic Android, and most of our robots run it.
Yeah, it's
And
like
then we
having a tablet directly on your chest.
Right. And then we install a sort of kiosk mode. So the robots are locked to a specific task once you decide so. So if I open kiosk mode here, the robot will start whatever task I assigned it. So the last task this robot had was from a company that's going on an exhibition called Nebo
Hi,
Gears.
welcome to Nebo Gears. We keep the world in motion. Press me to see how we do it.
She now speaks automatically when she sees your face on the screen here. She says, "Oh, that looks like a person. I will bid him welcome." And then we have a menu where you can select products, or you can start a dance or hear about the colleagues. And they use that during the exhibition so that you can get leads or have people participate in your competition or sign up to your newsletter. So technically, Freja is a fun, unique communications platform. And the reason she brings value is people remember her and they actually do sign up.
So I can enter my email directly somewhere on the screen, right?
Usually we do it with QR codes because it's so much faster. You seem like one of the types of people who have their email ready to go, so you can just one click and then it's all done.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how it usually works. And then, of course, we have an overview of all the products.
Select one of our quality products. The production of worms and worm gears has been a cornerstone of our business for many years.
And she will go on to present all the value props or the value propositions the company has. So it's a great conversation starter for the salesman or the advisor or the engineer. And they now no longer have to go get the customer at the event. The customer will come and ask, what's that? I said, that's Freja. What can she do? Well, she's here to present, and then you go into the needs of the customer.
Great marketing for you as well. Do you have your own QR code? If the person goes at the kiosk and is impressed with Freja, can they easily like get in touch with you and rent their own Freja?
Well, if they just Google robots in Denmark, I think will come up. But we don't have our own branding. When Freja is at the customer's exhibition, she is all theirs. We just shipped this Nibo Gears robot. We shipped it yesterday, and has their logo on it and only their logo.
Got it. Okay.
It's a very specific branding.
I think I would have like two package, one which has my branding, so like the Freja one and your website, and that one would be less expensive. And if they want the Yodaway branding.com, and if they would want their own, then they would have to pay a bit more. What do you think about that?
I like to deal in full packages. That's how we scale the business so far. So when they get it from me, they get the best that they can get and nothing else. Also, the reason why we don't do the co-branding is because two brands can be confusing quite fast. It's easier to have simple, clear, concise communication coming from the robots. If they're truly interested, they will find us anyway.
Roger that. How much clients pay usually to rent Freja per day? I guess conference they can last up to 3 days as well. What is the package that you sell the most?
Well, we only have one, again, to make it easy, clear, and concise. So you have Freja for 7 days, and you pay the same whether you use her for 15 minutes or for a week, because the same amount of work for me to send her out the door. And they pay 15,000 kronas, 14,500, I think. I have to convert that to dollars.
Yeah,
it's about $2,000, something like that.
Oh, that's not expensive. It's really affordable. I definitely do it. If I would have a company at a conference, I think the folks there, they they sometimes pay that. Well, they paid like a fifth. That's a fifth of what they pay to actually be at the conference and present there. It's also cool because if I'm busy like serving a client as a sales rep, and someone comes at the kiosk, they can get their own information in a more interactive way. What solutions do you compete with? Like, aren't there like just normal screens that people get at the kiosk there? Normally, like, what's the alternative here?
Yeah, that's a great question. Just to be precise, it's $2,200 with the current valuation, and that's to rent the robot for a week. If you want to buy it, it's $8,800, and that's including the software. So again, full package.
That I think it sounds so inexpensive. 8K for the robot, right?
Right, and then she's already programmed to be your receptionist or your marketing.
That's a very good offer that you have there. I guess you've done your homework and checked out the competition, but there's not much of that in Norway, right?
No, there isn't, and there isn't in Sweden or in Denmark either.
And generally, like if I would want to buy my Freja from China or whatever, How much should I pay for that? Like 1,500 for the whole hardware, or plus
Well, it really
shipping?
it depends on whether they would sell it to you, because you know it's much cheaper for them to sell maybe 50 at a time, because then you can fill a container.
Right.
But to answer your question about competition, when you enter a public building in Denmark, usually there will be a screen where you can check in, and that screen will help deliver you to the correct place. We have few people here, so we are very efficient when it comes to being digital. Our whole tax system is digital and works quite well. And so it is with most public services. The robot is in direct competition with these screens. And when we win a certain case, it's usually because Freja has a higher interaction rate, or she can sometimes be hired to draw attention to the screen. The reason is that Freja will move. Now I put her in a sort of stasis mode so she doesn't move too much. Yeah, but she can move and wave at you every time you walk in the door, and she will look in your general direction. So she will invite you to perform an action, also known as nudging. It's a quite powerful nudging, but without seeming like an authority. So the screens are usually much more clever than Freja is when it comes to the software, because they have connections throughout the system in a public building. But Freja can initiate the interaction. That's the difference between the two. So some have both, some select the robot because it's also a huge branding opportunity to seem very innovative. I mean, you do have a full-time robot that you hired. If that's not innovative, I don't know what is. Yeah, so yes, that's the competition. Definitely screens, yes.
And Freya can dance as well. Can you demo that?
Yes, you
Can
can
we
dance
get to
quite
the
well.
dancing part?
Well, yeah, I guess I could make her dance. Just give me a second here. I'll put her down on
Without
the floor.
falling?
Well, she won't fall. Let's see here. I'll adjust the camera in just a minute.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely gets the intention, I think, which is an important factor.
Just give me a second here. I'll just turn up the volume.
Jeg kan godt lide at danse med åbne bryst. You say, oh my God, I see the way to shine. Take your hand, my dear, and place them both in mine. You know you stopped me dead while I was passing by.
So,
Se frem til at danse med dig næste gang.
Love it. That
what she says
definitely
there in
gets the
Danish is
attention,
that
no?
she looks forward to dancing with us next time. She can play music quite loud, and
Yeah,
it's also possible to remote control her, so you can actually drive over to your competitor by accident, of course. We don't recommend it, but it is technically possible. Yes.
that's guerrilla tactics right there.
Right. Well, we heard about it. Of course, we never did it ourselves.
That's funny. I love it. I want to talk about the software platform of it and the AI. Can you talk about both of these things, like the software platform? How do you customize it? What it looks like, and what's the AI component to it?
Right. I can do that. The software platform is one we built ourselves, and I think the easiest way to talk about it is just to show it quite quickly. It's based on a flow model.
Mhm.
So let me just see here. I'll just open up one of the robot tasks from one of our customers and then let you see it, how it works.
Okay.
So all robot tasks are designed in a flow, which means
Mhm.
that you'll usually start with the robot saying hello and then providing you with options.
Okay.
And these options differ depending on the practical task the robot has to do. So one task might be checking you in or showing you where to go or presenting you with a product. Also, if you have 2 tasks that you want it to complete in one day, it can shift automatically. The robot has its own calendar, so it can be a receptionist the first half of the day, and then it can be a product presentation person the next half of the day. Let me just see here. I have this ready to go. Let me just plug in the big screen. Give me a second here. There we are. Perhaps you can edit out the wait.
I like to have people wait. In the age of impatience, I
Right.
think it's great to take a breather and have silence for the listeners.
Here we are. So I'll just share my screen real quick, as they say in America.
Real quick, yeah.
Real quick. Yes, I learned that in high school. Here we are. So as you can see, this is just a simple flow.
Yeah.
You have your top here where it says press to hear more. This is a Danish menu. And then
Okay.
you have these buttons. And once you press a button, something will happen. If you press the first one, it says upgrade your ticket. You'll get 2 options to buy something additional, because this is a theme park that has this robot. It bids you welcome as you come in. And the whole idea is to get people to buy something that will upgrade their stay, make it a little bit better. So that's the first button. You can upgrade your ticket. The great
Okay.
offer. You scan the QR code and pay, you're done. The second, that's the dancing part. If you press that button, the robot will play music and dance for 60 seconds. Great for the kids and to draw attention to the upgrading ability you have when it comes to your ticket. The third one is the newsletter. If you want to win something in this competition, just sign up to the newsletter and give us the permission to communicate to you. So that's the whole GDPR thing you asked about before.
Okay.
So we now provide some sort of value or competition or possible value when you sign up to the newsletter. The fourth button initiates a video. It shows how to get somewhere or how cool the new ride is that they just installed in this theme park.
Okay.
The fifth button is the event. What's going to happen in the future? Why should you come back to this theme park? And the robot presents this in a cool, fun way, and you can sign up right away if you want to. Just reserve the date in the calendar, of course, at a discount. And the last one is practical. So if you want the app for the park, so it's easy for you to get around, you have a map, you can book different events during your stay. That's it. So this is a typical menu for a robot where it provides the visitors with options to do stuff.
Pretty cool. What's the AI component of it all? Like, how does it learn and how does it improve?
Well, it doesn't. Since the robot doesn't have an AI component, which is infused with machine learning, so to speak, the robot doesn't learn. It only does what we tell it to. The AI that we use, which is advanced, is in the cameras. And the cameras are a little bit different since it only provides statistics. It's only software. There's no branding. There's nothing visual. I'll just show you a picture of how the cameras look. And to the viewers, I'm not sure if I can explain the flow any better. Then you have buttons, and once you press it, you get more options. If I were to, well, not the viewers, I'm sorry, the listeners. If I were to explain the cameras, it's just a black box. As you can see here in the picture, it's a black box that's on the wall or on a hand sanitizing station, something like that. And it's placed strategically throughout a building.
Okay.
That's it.
Yeah, I love it because it doesn't look like a camera, so people don't freak out, right?
Right. But also there's no need to freak out because we don't have any personal information. We cannot identify who walks in the building and who doesn't.
Yeah, yeah,
If you want to do that, you can look at the surveillance they have already, but that's not what we do. We do statistics. That's it.
yeah. I wanted to briefly talk about the future of robotics. We can take 2 or 3 minutes for that because Nitra on my side, probably on your side too. Boston Robotics and the future of AI, basically merging open AI with a robot. We've seen that AI can evolve more rapidly just through code in a virtual environment, and that it's harder to operate in the physical world because there's so many laws that seem like second nature for us humans, like gravity and touching other objects and interacting with different forces of physics. Where do you see the future of robotics? Is the ultimate AI gonna be like in a body and merge like the brain aspect with the physical aspects of the existence in reality? Do you think this is going to lead eventually to AGI, or do you think that AGI can be built purely in a virtual environment without involving the laws of physics and robotics?
Well, that's quite a large question.
Yes.
2 or 3 minutes. Well, if you look at any product through history, then you usually start with something like Boston Dynamics, which have fantastic robots.
Yeah.
However, they are not available to the common person due to
Mm.
price and how difficult it is to use. So the first person to make it available at scale will have a successful business. That strategy has been used for a long time. Regarding AI and where it's headed, I think there is always going to be a lot of buzz about AI in the sense of what's achievable. How far can we go? That is a question that a lot of people want answered because it's our nature, I guess. However, AI at scale in your everyday life depends on whether it can solve a task for you easier or better than what you have already. Like you mentioned, you have Alexa and you have a smartwatch. And all these products solve some sort of problem for you more easily than without having them at all. That's why you keep them. It's very difficult to guess the future. So I would rather speak to what I see as possible in our field. And that's limited by laws. First of all, there is a lot of security. So we are often asked if we could make a robot get some coffee. And we can. Technically, it's possible. I don't think anyone wants to pay for it, though, because it will be expensive. But let's stick with the coffee analogy here because a lot of people can relate to it. You would like a robot to navigate. We have that. We have the best navigational robot you can get on this planet currently at scale. There is someone out there who has one that's better, but this is the one for the people because it's inexpensive. So next step is to lift the coffee mug with coffee in it. So you're probably looking at maybe half a kilo, somewhere around a pound if it's a large ceramic cup filled with coffee. You now want to lift it. And you want to lift it in the range of about 1 meter, so 3 feet out. You want to hold this weight. And you also need to squeeze it hard enough that you can hold it at 3 feet and then move it around.
But
what
not
I'm
break
getting
it.
at here, right, without breaking it, what I'm getting at is you need quite a lot of power to do it. Everything in our environment is built for humans. That's also why you mentioned the laws like gravity and interacting with objects. Just seeing the leg of a chair or a tabletop can be difficult for a robot. But what I'm getting at with this coffee mug is that we are not allowed to just put this kind of power into a robot. If it starts being able to move a pound at 3 feet or more, it has to be secured in some way. If it doesn't have the correct sensors to stop then it has to also be caged, just like a production robot. That's where we're heading with that question. So I think the development will be a lot slower than we can imagine, and it will always have its foundation in whether or not it can solve something which is quite valuable. The coffee example is great because nobody really wants a robot that can get them coffee. A lot of people like to get up and go to the coffee machine. That's where they have their little chat and their 5-minute break during the day. So they don't actually want it. They just use it as an example because I guess it's a natural thing to ask. We get asked a lot. Robot applications are great. Like if you take Spot, the robot dog from Boston Dynamics, if that were to look for trash or clues or wayfinding or something like that, it could be great. That robot can even be outfitted with a small robotic arm so it can open doors. So there's definitely some possibilities, but again, it will always have its foundation in whether or not it solves an actual problem.
Love it. Yeah, that opens the door to many other questions. So we'll need to redo this again. Thank you so much for showing up today, Kian. Where can people find out more about you?
Well, it would be great if they would visit Yodaway.com.
Yodaway and yeah, Kian Flora on LinkedIn straight up. So yeah, thank you so much, Kian.
You're very welcome. I hope I provided some value or insight into the world of service robots.